How dare you do this to me, you bloody lying son of a bitch! You got a vasectomy and you are fucking gay? You lied to me, why?
Listen to me very carefully. You will never speak of this to anyone. Not your family, not the media. Do you understand?
The truth detonated like a bomb the moment Felicia unwrapped the envelope she found in her husband's closet. Medical report. Seoul National University Hospital. Patient name, Jang Min-ho. Her eyes scanned down the page. Vasectomy successful, dated 3 months before their wedding. The laundry basket hit the floor with a crash. Clean clothes spilled everywhere, but Felicia couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The paper shook in her trembling hands as she read it again. And again. Hoping the words would change. Hoping she was misunderstanding. But there was no misunderstanding. Jang had gotten a vasectomy 3 months before they got married. While she'd been picking out wedding flowers and dreaming about babies. While she'd been planning their future. He'd been making sure that the future would never include children and her happiness. Welcome to my channel, besties. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button to support my channel, like and comment where you're watching from. I would love to meet you all in the comments section. Now, let's continue. Felicia's lungs tightened so much she gasped. 2 years. She'd spent 2 years being blamed for not getting pregnant. 2 years of his mother's disappointed looks and snide comments. 2 years of feeling broken and worthless and wrong. And it had been a lie the entire time. Felicia's hands curled into fists, crumpling the paper. She wanted to scream. Wanted to destroy something. Instead, she turned back to the closet with shaking hands. If he'd hidden this, what else was there? She pulled open drawers she'd never touched before. Went through pockets and boxes. Her heart hammered against her ribs so hard it hurt. She was 20 years old and her entire marriage was falling apart in her hands. The gift card was in the back of his sock drawer. Innocent looking. Cream-colored envelope with his name written in careful handwriting. She shouldn't open it. She knew she shouldn't. But her fingers were already sliding under the flap before she could stop herself. Photos spilled out into her palm. Jang with another man. Kissing. Holding hands as they walked through a park. Sharing ice cream with their heads close together and soft smiles on their faces. More photos. So many photos. All of them showing a version of Jang she'd never seen. Relaxed. Happy. In love. With a man. Her jaw went slack. The photos scattered across the floor as her knees gave out. She sat there surrounded by evidence of her husband's secret life and felt her world tilt sideways. Jang was gay. The realization hit her like a physical blow. All those nights he'd turned away from her in bed. All those times he'd made excuses not to touch her. All the times she'd wondered what was wrong with her, why she wasn't enough, why he never wanted her the way a husband should want his wife. It wasn't her. It had never been her. Hot tears streamed down her face. She pressed her hands over her mouth to keep the sobs inside. 2 years. 2 years of her life wasted on a lie so big she couldn't wrap her mind around it. She'd been nothing but a cover. A prop to make him look normal to his conservative family and business associates. Felicia gathered the photos with shaking hands and shoved them back in the envelope. She grabbed the medical report from where she'd dropped it. Then she stumbled to her bedroom and locked the door behind her. She sat on the edge of the bed and cried until her throat was raw. Until there were no tears left. Until the pain in her chest turned from sharp to dull and heavy. The scars on her arms burned. Old marks from 2 years of careful accidents. Times when Jang had grabbed her too hard during arguments. When she'd been pushed into furniture. When things had happened that left her bruised and marked, but always with plausible deniability. He'd never hit her directly. Never left obvious evidence. Just a pattern of small hurts that added up to something bigger. She'd thought it was normal. Thought all marriages had rough patches. But now she understood. He'd been punishing her for being something he never wanted in the first place. A wife. A woman. The sun set outside her window. The apartment grew dark around her. Felicia sat there clutching the envelope and the medical report, trying to figure out what to do next. Where to go. How to survive this. She heard the front door open around 9. Jang's footsteps in the hallway. His keys hitting the counter. His voice calling out, "Felicia? Where's dinner?" Her body moved on autopilot. She stood, walked to the door, unlocked it. The envelope and paper felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds in her hands. Jang was sitting at the dining table when she found him, still in his work clothes, phone in his hand, scrolling through messages with the same bored expression he always wore at home. "Care to explain these?" Her voice came out steadier than she expected. She threw the envelope and paper at him. They scattered across the table. The photos spread out in an accusatory fan. The medical report landed face up where he couldn't miss it. Jang's face went white, then red. His phone clattered to the table as he stood so fast his chair scraped across the floor. "Why were you in my closet?" His voice was low and dangerous. "I told you never to touch my things." "Why?" Felicia's voice rose despite her best efforts. Tears streamed down her face again. "Why did you marry me? Why did you let everyone blame me for 2 years when you knew? You knew it was impossible and you let them tear me apart." "Shut up." Jang grabbed her arm and slammed her against the wall so hard her teeth rattled. His face was inches from hers, twisted with rage. "You have no idea what you're talking about. I have pictures. I have your medical records. I know everything." She tried to pull away, but his grip tightened until pain shot up her arm. "You're gay. You never wanted me. This whole marriage was a lie." His hand came up. She flinched, expecting the blow. But he stopped with his fist raised next to her face. His eyes were black with fury. "Listen to me very carefully." His voice was deadly quiet. "You will never speak of this to anyone. Not my family. Not your family. Not the media. No one. Do you understand? Or what?" She was crying so hard she could barely get the words out. "What else can you do to me? You've already destroyed my life. I can make it worse. Much worse." He leaned closer. His breath was hot on her face. "You won't live to tell the tale if you open your mouth. That's a promise." He shoved her away. Felicia hit the floor hard, her shoulder slamming into the hardwood. She lay there sobbing while Jang grabbed his keys and stormed out. The door slammed behind him so hard the walls shook. The apartment went silent. Felicia pulled herself up slowly, her whole body aching. She limped to her bedroom and started pulling clothes out of the closet. Her hands shook so badly she could barely grip anything, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. If she stopped moving, she'd fall apart completely. She threw everything into a suitcase. Clothes, toiletries, the few personal items that mattered. It took 20 minutes to pack up 2 years of her life. When she was done, she sat down at the kitchen table and found a piece of paper. Her handwriting was barely legible through the tears, but she managed to write it out. Short and simple because she couldn't bear to say more. "I want a divorce. I want my freedom. I want my life back. Don't contact me." She pulled off her wedding ring. The gold band that had felt like a promise once. Now it just felt like a shackle. She dropped it on top of the note where he couldn't miss it. The apartment looked the same as she walked out. But everything had changed. She was 20 years old and completely alone with nothing but a suitcase and a broken heart. She didn't know where she was going. Didn't have a plan. She just knew she couldn't stay there another second. The club was packed and way too loud. Felicia sat at the bar nursing her 3rd shot of soju, which was 2 more than she'd ever had in her life. The bartender kept giving her concerned looks, but she didn't care. The alcohol made the pain in her chest feel fuzzy and distant instead of sharp and immediate. "Another one," she said, pushing the empty glass forward. "Miss, maybe you should slow down," the bartender said gently. "I'm 20 years old and my life is already over." Her laugh came out bitter and broken. What's the point of slowing down? She'd tried calling her parents. They'd hung up on her. They'd been so proud when she married into the Jang family. A powerful business family with connections everywhere. They didn't want to hear that it was all fake. That their daughter had been used and thrown away like garbage. The next shot burned going down. So did the one after that. Time started blurring together. The music got louder. The lights got brighter. Someone tried to talk to her, but she waved them away. She just wanted to feel numb for a little while. Was that too much to ask? When she finally stumbled outside, the cold air hit her like a slap. The parking attendant brought her car around, and she got in without thinking. She shouldn't drive. Some distant part of her brain knew that. But that part wasn't loud enough to stop her from starting the engine. Seoul at 2 in the morning looked like a different city. Empty streets. Neon signs reflecting off wet pavement. She drove slowly, gripping the steering wheel tight, trying to focus on the road. A red light appeared ahead. She pressed the brake. Or thought she did. The black luxury car in front of her got closer. Too close. Way too close. The crash sounded like the end of the world. Her airbag exploded into her face. Pain shot through her chest. The smell of burning rubber filled her nose. For a few seconds, she just sat there, dazed and confused, trying to figure out what happened. A car door opened. She heard footsteps on the pavement. Expensive leather shoes appeared next to her window. The door was pulled open and a man crouched down to look at her. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and a face that looked like it was carved from stone. His suit probably cost more than her car. His eyes were the coldest thing she'd ever seen. "Do you have any idea whose car you just destroyed?" His voice was calm, but there was something dangerous underneath it. Felicia blinked at him, still dizzy. "I don't care. Just call the police. End this nightmare." Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe. He studied her for a long moment, taking in her expensive clothes, her smudged makeup, the smell of alcohol on her breath. "No police," he said finally. "You're coming with me." 2 men in dark suits appeared behind him. Felicia's brain was too foggy to process what was happening. She tried to protest, but the words came out slurred. Strong hands helped her out of the car. Or maybe dragged her. She couldn't tell the difference anymore. The last thing she saw before everything went black was the man's face as he caught her when her legs gave out. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to my channel. Now go grab a bowl of popcorn because we are about to hit the gas pedal of intrigue. When Felicia woke up, her head felt like someone had taken a hammer to it. She groaned and tried to sit up, immediately regretting it when the room started spinning. Where was she? This wasn't her apartment. This wasn't Jang's apartment either. The bedroom was huge and decorated in shades of cream and gold. Everything looked expensive in a cold, impersonal way. Like a hotel room but bigger. She was still wearing her club dress from last night, but someone had taken off her shoes and put a blanket over her. She stumbled to the window and looked out. Her jaw dropped. The view showed a massive estate with gardens and fountains and what looked like a guest house in the distance. Mountains rose in the background. This wasn't Seoul proper. This was somewhere outside the city where only the very rich lived. The door was locked. Of course it was. Her phone was gone. Her purse was gone. Everything was gone except her and her pounding headache and the slowly rising panic in her chest. She was about to start screaming when the lock clicked. The door opened and the man from last night walked in. He looked even more intimidating in the daylight. Tall and broad-shouldered with an air of authority that made her take a step back without meaning to. "You're awake." He sat down in a chair by the window like he had all the time in the world. "We need to talk about the damage you caused. Look, I'll pay for your car. Just let me go. The repairs will cost $150,000. Felicia's legs went weak. She sat down hard on the bed. "That's impossible. No car costs that much to fix. Mine does." He pulled out a tablet and showed her the damage report. Her small sedan had hit his custom Bentley at just the right angle to destroy the entire front end. The numbers on the screen made her want to throw up. "I'll pay," she said desperately. "I have money. My bank account. Try it." She grabbed her phone from where he'd set it on the dresser and opened her banking app. The same message from yesterday appeared. Account access denied. She tried her credit cards. All frozen. She tried everything and came up empty. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Your husband locked you out. All your accounts are in his name." The man leaned back in his chair. You have nothing. The reality of her situation crashed over her like a wave. No money. No home. No family who would help. And now she owed this stranger more money than she'd ever seen in her life. Then what do you want from me? Her voice came out small and scared. You'll work off the debt. My estate needs staff. I'll provide room and board plus wages. Every cent goes toward what you owe me. He said it like he was discussing the weather. Like this was completely normal. You can't be serious. That's basically slavery. That's justice. You destroyed my property while driving drunk. You pay the consequences. His eyes were hard. Or I can call the police right now. Drunk driving is a criminal offense in Korea. You'll go to jail and still owe me the money. Felicia felt the walls closing in. She had no good choices. No choices at all, really. How long, she asked quietly. Until the debt is paid. Could be 6 months. Could be a year. Depends on how hard you work. He pulled out a contract and set it on the desk. 3 pages of legal terms that basically said she belonged to him until he decided otherwise. She read through it twice, looking for a way out. There wasn't one. Her hand shook as she signed her name at the bottom. Welcome to your new life, he said, taking the contract back. My name is Kong Min-jae. You'll address me as sir. The head housekeeper will show you your duties. He left without another word. Felicia sat there staring at her signature on the contract copy he'd left behind. She'd escaped one prison only to walk straight into another. The next few weeks blurred together in a haze of exhaustion. Felicia cleaned rooms that were bigger than her old apartment. She served meals she couldn't afford to eat. She did laundry for people she never saw. The other staff members avoided her. She heard them whispering when they thought she couldn't hear. The girl who crashed into the boss's car. The girl who had to work off her debt. They looked at her with pity and fear. Min-jae was fair, she had to admit that. He paid exactly what he promised. He kept detailed records of every hour she worked and how much went toward her debt. He wasn't cruel. But he wasn't kind either. He was just there, this powerful presence in the house that everyone tiptoed around. She saw him sometimes in the evenings, sitting in his study with a glass of whiskey, staring at a photo on his desk. One night she got close enough to see it. A beautiful woman with 2 children, a boy and a girl. They were all smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. His family, one of the older housekeepers, told her later. They died 5 years ago. Gang violence. He's never been the same. Felicia looked at Min-jae differently after that. She started noticing things. The way he never smiled. The way he worked late every night like he was trying to outrun something. The way his eyes went distant and cold whenever someone mentioned family. She understood that kind of pain. Different circumstances, but the same hollow ache underneath. Her routine became automatic. Wake up at 6. Clean the East Wing. Prepare lunch. Clean the West Wing. Prepare dinner. Collapse into bed. Repeat. The only bright spot was Sunday afternoons when she got 3 hours off. She'd go to the estate library and lose herself in books, pretending she was somewhere else. Someone else. 3 weeks into her new life, Min-jae called her to his office. You're doing good work, he said without looking up from his papers. The house hasn't been this clean in years. Thank you, sir. Stop calling me that. Min-jae is fine when we're alone. He finally looked at her and something in his expression made her nervous. I have a question. Why did you crash into my car that night? Felicia hadn't expected that. She opened her mouth to give some generic answer, but the truth came out instead. I'd just left my husband. Found out our whole marriage was a lie. I was drunk and stupid and not paying attention. He hurt you. It wasn't a question. How did you? I recognized the signs. Min-jae stood and walked to the window. I've seen enough broken people to know one when I meet them. They stood there in silence for a minute. Felicia had the strangest urge to tell him everything. About Jang's lies. About the vasectomy. About the secret phone and the frozen bank accounts. About feeling so worthless and used that she'd driven drunk without caring what happened to her. But she swallowed the words down. Min-jae was her employer. Her captor. He didn't need to know her sad story. Get back to work, he said quietly. And Felicia? Don't ever let a man make you feel worthless again. You're worth more than that. She left his office feeling confused and off balance. How could someone who was essentially holding her prisoner say something so kind? Week 4 brought a change in routine. Felicia was folding laundry in the utility room when Min-jae walked in. She jumped, startled. He never came to this part of the house. Sorry, he said, which surprised her even more. I'm looking for the head housekeeper. Have you seen her? She went into town for supplies. Won't be back until this evening. He nodded and turned to leave, then stopped. Those need to go to the guest rooms? Yes, sir. I mean, yes. He picked up half the stack of folded sheets. I'll help you carry them. Felicia stared at him. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I'm choosing to. He walked out before she could protest. They made 3 trips in silence, distributing the linens to the various guest rooms. It was so surreal that Felicia almost laughed. Kang Min-jae, notorious businessman and her current captor, helping her carry sheets like it was the most normal thing in the world. Why are you being nice to me? She asked when they finished. Min-jae looked at her for a long moment. Because kindness costs nothing. And you look like you could use some. The next day, she found a box on her bed. Inside was a new phone, fully charged with her number already transferred. A note in Min-jae's handwriting said simply, "You should be able to call for help if you need it." The day after that, she came back from cleaning to find her laundry already done and folded, sitting neatly on her dresser. The day after that, a brand new set of comfortable work shoes appeared outside her door. Small things. Thoughtful things. Things that made no sense coming from the man who was holding her captive to pay off a debt. Felicia didn't know what to make of it. She didn't know what to make of him. A week later, Min-jae asked her to have dinner with him. Not as a servant. As a guest. She almost said no, but curiosity got the better of her. They ate in the small dining room instead of the formal one. The food was simple but delicious. The conversation started awkward and slowly became easier. Tell me about yourself, Min-jae said. Before the marriage. Before all this. So she did. She told him about growing up in Busan. About wanting to be a nurse someday. About meeting Jang when she was 18 and thinking he was her ticket to a better life. About how wrong she'd been. You're still young, Min-jae said. 20 is nothing. You have your whole life ahead of you. Doesn't feel that way. I know. But trust me on this. When your debt is paid, I'll fund your nursing education. Whatever school you want to go to. Felicia set down her fork. Why would you do that? Because you deserve a chance. Everyone deserves a chance. His voice got quiet. I failed to give my son chances when he needed them. Maybe I can do better with you. Your son? I thought you lost your children in a gang war or something, her brows furrowed in confusion. Yeah, those were my legitimate kids with my wife, he paused, dragging a deep sigh. I had another son. It was outside wedlock, he chuckled though she could see the regret in his eyes. His name is Jang. Jang Min-ho. But he was never level-headed. He drank, clubbed, gambled, and he decided to be sexually different. Felicia's heart dropped. Sexually different? That could mean one thing. Something she feared so much to admit. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to my channel. Do you have a picture of what he looks like? She asked. Min-jae pulled out his phone and scrolled through the gallery while Felicia's heart pounded like a war drum in her chest. Here. This is it, he said, showing Felicia what he looked like. Jang Min-ho. He's my illegitimate child. I never acknowledged him publicly. It's one of my many regrets. The room tilted. Felicia gripped the edge of the table. Jang is your son? Yes. What's the problem? Is everything all right? Min-jae studied her face as tears began to gather in her eyes. Why are you crying? Did I say anything wrong? Talk to me. Felicia's mouth opened, but the words were too heavy to come forth until she caught her breath. The man who'd abused her for 2 years was the son of the man currently sitting across from her. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Jang. Jang Min-ho was the animal I was married to. Her voice came out strangled. What? Holy shit. Tell me everything he did. Did he hurt you badly? Tell me, and I'd have his head for it. Min-jae's voice had gone hard. Felicia pulled her sleeves down over her wrists and wiped her tears with stifled breath, a habit she developed to hide the scars. It doesn't matter now. I was destined to be a prisoner of the sick. She swallowed the next sentence she was about to spit because it could only land her in more trouble. It matters to me. Min-jae persisted, but Felicia was never going to say another word. Deep down Min-jae's heart, it hurts him. Not only because she now had a negative mindset towards him and his family, but because secretly he was beginning to fall in love with her. How could one explain that? He was falling in love with his son's wife. They finished dinner in heavy silence. When she got up to leave, Min-jae caught her hand. If you want to talk about it, I'll listen. No judgment. Just listening. Felicia pulled her hand away gently. I don't want to talk about it. But later that night, lying in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about the genuine concern in his eyes. About the way his touch had been careful. About how he'd offered to listen without pushing. She was so confused. The next morning, she found Min-jae in the kitchen making coffee, which was strange because he usually had staff do that. He looked up when she walked in and actually smiled. It transformed his whole face, making him look 10 years younger. Good morning. Want some? He held up the coffee pot. Sure. Thank you. She watched him pour her a cup, his movements precise and controlled. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about what you said last night. He handed her the coffee. About my son hurting you. I need to know how bad it was. Felicia wrapped her hands around the warm mug. Why does it matter? Because he's my son and he stopped. You're under my protection now. I need to know what I'm protecting you from. Something about the way he said it made her chest feel tight. Under my protection. Like she mattered. Like she was worth protecting. He never hit me directly, she said slowly. He was too smart for that. But there were accidents. I'd fall into things. Trip downstairs. Get grabbed too hard. After 2 years I had scars all over. Min-jae's jaw clenched. Show me. What? Show me. Please. I need to see what my son did to you. Felicia's hands shook as she rolled up her left sleeve. The scars were thin white lines running from her wrist to her elbow. Some were straight. Some were jagged. All of them had stories she'd rather forget. Min-jae reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he traced one of the scars with his finger. His touch was so gentle it made her eyes sting. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I'm sorry my son did this to you. I'm sorry I wasn't there to stop it. I'm sorry you had to suffer alone. It's not your fault, isn't it? I raised him. Or failed to raise him properly. Either way, this is partially on me. He pulled her sleeve back down carefully. No one will ever hurt you like that again. Not while you're here. I promise you that. Felicia didn't know why she believed him, but she did. Something in his eyes told her he meant every word. The days started changing after that. Min-jae began including her in small things. He'd ask her opinion on business decisions. He'd invite her to have coffee with him in the mornings. He'd take her on drives around the estate, showing her the gardens and the small lake on the property. Why are you doing all this? She asked one afternoon as they walked through the rose garden. Doing what? Being nice to me. Going out of your way. I'm supposed to be working off a debt, not being treated like a guest. Min-jae stopped walking and turned to face her. Do you want me to stop? No. I just don't understand why you're doing it. Maybe I'm lonely. Maybe I see potential in you. Maybe I wanted to right my son's wrongs and make you see we are not bad people, or perhaps I just enjoy your company. He smiled slightly. Does there have to be a reason? Usually there is. Well, maybe I'm unusual. He started walking again. Come on. I want to show you something. He led her to a greenhouse she hadn't noticed before. Inside was a paradise of exotic plants and flowers. The air was warm and humid and smelled like growing things. My wife loved this place, Min-jae said softly. She'd spend hours here tending to the plants. After she died, I couldn't come in here for years. Too many memories. Why are you showing me now? Because it's time to make new memories. And because I think you'd like it here. You can come anytime you want. Consider it yours. Felicia walked between the rows of plants, trailing her fingers over the leaves. It was beautiful and peaceful and felt like a gift she didn't deserve. Thank you, she whispered. When she turned back, Minjae was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Something warm and complicated that made her stomach flip. You're welcome, he said. That night, Felicia lay in bed thinking about how much had changed in a month. She'd gone from being a captive to being something else. Something she didn't have a name for yet. Minjae confused her. He was harsh and cold one minute, kind and gentle the next. He held her prisoner, but treated her better than Jang ever had when they were married. She didn't know what to do with these feelings that were starting to grow inside her. Gratitude, maybe. Or something more dangerous. She was still thinking about it when she finally fell asleep. The next morning, Minjae announced they were going shopping. Felicia protested, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. They drove into Seoul in one of his less flashy cars, just a regular black sedan that didn't scream wealthy businessman. You need proper clothes, he said. The work uniforms are fine, but you should have nice things for your days off. I can't afford nice things. I know. That's why I'm buying them for you. They spent 3 hours in expensive boutiques. Minjae sat patiently while she tried on outfit after outfit, giving his opinion when she asked for it. He had surprisingly good taste. By the end, she had bags full of dresses and casual clothes and even some nice shoes. This is too much, she said as they loaded everything into the car. It's not enough. But it's a start. He held the car door open for her. There's one more place I want to take you. They drove to a fancy restaurant overlooking the Han River. The kind of place Felicia had only seen in movies. Minjae ordered for both of them, choosing dishes she'd never tried before. The food was incredible. The view was better. But the best part was the conversation. They talked about everything. Books and movies and childhood memories. Minjae told her stories about building his business from nothing. She told him about her dreams of helping people, of making a difference in the world. You'll do it, he said with certainty. I can see it. You have the heart for it. How can you be so sure? Because I'm good at reading people. It's kept me alive this long. He refilled her water glass. And because I believe in you. No one had ever said that to her before. Not her parents. Not Jang. No one. The words hit her harder than they should have. On the drive back, Felicia watched the city lights blur past and tried to figure out what was happening to her. When had Minjae stopped being her captor and started being something else? When had she started looking forward to seeing him every morning? When had his smile started making her heart beat faster? This was dangerous territory. He was 40 years older than her. He was her employer. He was her ex-husband's father. This couldn't happen. But her heart didn't seem to care about any of that. They got back to the estate late. Minjae walked her to her room, carrying her shopping bags. Thank you for today, Felicia said. I had a really good time. So did I. We should do it again sometime. He set the bags down inside her door. Sleep well, Felicia. He turned to leave, but she caught his sleeve. Minjae? Why are you really doing all this? He looked down at her hand on his arm, then back at her face. Because you make me feel like a person again instead of just a business. Because your smile lights up the whole house. Because I haven't felt this alive in 5 years. He gently removed her hand. And because that terrifies me. He left before she could respond. Felicia closed the door and leaned against it, her heart racing. She was in so much trouble. The next few weeks were torture in the best possible way. Minjae kept finding excuses to spend time with her. Morning coffee became a routine they both looked forward to. He'd take her to the greenhouse and they'd talk while she tended to the plants. Sometimes they'd sit in his study in comfortable silence, her reading while he worked. The touches became more frequent. His hand on the small of her back when they walked together. His fingers brushing hers when he handed her things. The way he'd tuck her hair behind her ear when it fell in her face. Felicia knew she should put a stop to it. This couldn't go anywhere good. But she didn't want to stop. For the first time in years, she felt wanted. Valued. Safe. One Thursday evening, Minjae appeared at the greenhouse where Felicia was watering the orchids. He was dressed differently than usual. Still elegant, but more casual. A dark sweater instead of his usual suit jacket. "I have something for you," he said, holding out a garment bag. Felicia set down her watering can. "What is it?" "Open it and see." She smiled skeptically, reaching for the bag, then opened it. Inside was the most beautiful dress she'd ever seen. Midnight blue silk that shimmered in the light. Simple but elegant. The kind of dress that whispered money without shouting it. "Minjae, I can't accept this," she said. "You can and you will. There's an event tomorrow night. A private boat cruise on the Han River. Seoul's elite. Business associates. It's tedious but necessary." He paused. "I'd like you to come with me." Her heart stuttered. "Come with you? As what? Your employee? Oh, I get it. You want me to be your caddy like in the golf games you watch." "No, Felicia." He held her hand. "I want you there as my guest." His eyes held hers. "As someone I want by my side." The weight of those words settled between them. This was crossing a line. They both knew it. But neither of them seemed to care anymore. "Okay. I'd take it as an escort." "That's fine. I'd go. Not like I had a choice." "I'd do anything to get my debt sorted," she whispered. "I'll go." His smile was like the sunrise. "Good. We leave at 7. The next evening, Felicia stared at herself in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves in all the right places. She'd put her hair up in a simple twist, letting a few strands frame her face. She barely recognized herself. She looked grown-up. Sophisticated. Like she belonged in Minjae's world. A knock on her door made her jump. Minjae stood in the hallway in a black suit that probably cost more than a car. His silver hair was swept back and his eyes widened when he saw her. "You look beautiful," he said, his voice rough. "Thank you. You look pretty good yourself." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" The drive to the marina was quiet but comfortable. Felicia's nerves built with every mile. She'd never been to anything like this before. What if she said the wrong thing? Did the wrong thing? What if everyone could tell she didn't belong? Minjae seemed to sense her anxiety. He reached over and took her hand. "Just stay close to me. You'll be fine." I hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to my channel. The yacht was massive. 3 stories of gleaming white and polished wood. Soft lights glowed along its length and music drifted across the water. Men in expensive suits and women in designer dresses mingled on the deck, champagne glasses catching the light. Felicia's steps faltered. "Minjae, I don't think I can do this." He turned to face her, both hands on her shoulders. "Look at me. You're stronger than you think. Braver than you know. These people? They're just people. Half of them are faking confidence just like you are. But they all know each other. They'll wonder who I am. Let them wonder." His thumb brushed her cheek. "I'm proud to have you here. That's all that matters." They boarded together, Minjae's hand warm on the small of her back. Heads turned as they mingled, but Minjae didn't mind. He led Felicia to a group of dignitaries, his hand still on her back, radiating confidence. "Gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Felicia," he said, his voice smooth. "My love interest," he added, his eyes locking onto hers. Felicia's nervousness spiked. She forced a smile, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries, her mind racing with doubts. "You have quite a good taste," one of the men complimented. They all bursted into laughter as Minjae nodded in agreement. "You can say that again," he smiled, raising his glass. The other man, who seemed a bit rigid, passed a remark that made Felicia's heart stop. "I never knew black women could be this." His eyes scanned Felicia from head to toe. "I never knew they could be presentable. I don't mean to be offensive, you know, but history has made us know they're only good for the bed, procreation, and for some, the kitchen and other household chores," he said, sipping his drink with a soft chuckle. Minjae's grip tightened. "I bet they're better than your whore of a wife. Thinking of it, I think I should have opened the door to my bedroom the day she came begging to be drilled. I might consider her next time." Minjae's jaw tightened as he stared at the man in his face. Easy, gentlemen. We shouldn't be doing this here." The first man stood between Minjae and the other man. "Come on, honey, Let me show you around. He smiled at Felicia, escorting her out of the scene. Felicia was frozen at his protective display. She never imagined he would stand in for her. "Thank you for standing up for me back there," she managed to say. "Well, I would do anything for my date," he winked, leading her to the dance floor. The music shifted, and a slow song began. Min-jae pulled her close. As they swayed to the music, he looked into her eyes, his gaze intense. "Why did you introduce me like that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because it's true," he said, his voice low. "I'm in love with you, Felicia." "What?" Her eyes widened, and she tried to pull away, but he held her tight. "I've been fighting it, but I can't anymore," he confessed, his breath on her ear. "You're all I think about." He swirled her around as the rhythm changed, then pulled her more closer, so close, she could feel his breath on her face. "I can't lie to myself anymore. It's torture, Felicia. Seeing you walk around the house, your smile, your intellect. God, I wish my son hadn't hurt you. But nonetheless, I want to make things right." She froze, and in the heat of the moment, he kissed her. Deep and passionate. Felicia's world spun. The music softened the atmosphere, making it more desirable until the song ended, and she pulled away, her cheeks flushed. I need some air," she murmured, escaping his grasp. "Felicia," he called out, but she was already squeezing her way out. She spent the rest of the party avoiding Min-jae, lost in the crowd until it was time to leave. The drive home was silent, the tension between them palpable. As they pulled up to her place, Felicia got out, not looking back. "Thanks for the ride," she said, her voice neutral. Min-jae got out too, his eyes burning with emotion. "Felicia, wait." But she just shook her head and slipped inside, leaving him standing alone in the night. Felicia avoided Min-jae in every way she could until a cool Saturday evening. They were in the library looking for a book Min-jae had mentioned. The shelf was too high for her to reach, so he came up behind her, his chest against her back, and grabbed it for her. But he didn't step away immediately. They stood there frozen, his breath warm on her neck, his body so close she could feel the heat of him. "Felicia," he said softly, "we need to talk about this." "About what?" Her voice came out breathless. "About whatever this is between us. It's getting complicated." She turned in his arms, which was a mistake because now they were face to face, barely any space between them. "Then stop. I know this is wrong. You're young enough to be my granddaughter. You were married to my son. You're technically still working off a debt to me." He listed all the reasons like he was trying to convince himself. "This is wrong in every possible way. I know that too. Then why can't I stop thinking about you?" His hand came up to cup her face. "Why do I look for excuses to be near you? Why does your happiness matter so much to me?" "I don't know. But I feel the same way," she finally confessed. They stared at each other. The tension between them was thick enough to cut. Felicia's heart hammered so hard she was sure he could hear it. Min-jae's thumb stroked her cheek, so gently it made her want to cry. "We shouldn't do this," he whispered. "Yeah, probably not," she answered. "I'm too old for you." "You keep saying that." "Because it's true," he said. "I know I've been trying to fight this feeling, considering your age and the circumstances surrounding it all, but at this point, I do not care about your age." She put her hand over his on her face. "I care about how you make me feel. Like I'm worth something. Like I matter. You do matter. More than you know," he whispered. Then, the kiss happened again. This time, it was so natural it felt inevitable. One second they were talking, the next his lips were on hers, soft and careful and questioning. Felicia melted into him, her hands coming up to grip his shirt. The book he'd been holding fell to the floor with a thud. Min-jae kissed like he did everything else. Controlled and precise, but with an underlying intensity that took her breath away. His arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. She made a small sound in the back of her throat and felt him smile against her lips. When they finally broke apart, they both smiled while Felicia felt flushed. Min-jae rested his forehead against hers. "We're in trouble," he said. "Big trouble," she agreed. I should apologize, he teased. Please don't. He laughed, the sound low and rough. Felicia, what are we doing? I have no idea. But I don't want to stop. Neither do I. God help me, neither do I. They kissed again, deeper this time. Less careful. More desperate. Years of loneliness and pain poured into it from both sides. When they finally pulled apart, Felicia was dizzy. I should go, she said, even though leaving was the last thing she wanted to do. You should. But he didn't let her go. Tomorrow. We'll talk about this tomorrow. Figure out where we go from here. Okay. Tomorrow. She forced herself to step back. To walk to the door. To leave before this went any further. But when she looked back, Min-jae was still standing there watching her with an expression that made her knees weak. She barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt his lips on hers. She touched her mouth, still feeling the ghost of his kiss. This was insane. She was falling for a man 40 years older than her. A man who technically had control over her entire life right now. A man who was her ex-husband's father. But her heart didn't care about any of that. It just knew that when she was with Min-jae, she felt complete in a way she never had before. Morning came too slowly. Felicia got dressed carefully, her stomach full of butterflies. Would things be awkward now? Would he regret what happened? Would he pretend it never did? She found him in the kitchen making coffee like usual. He looked up when she walked in and smiled, the kind of smile that made her forget every reason this was a bad idea. Good morning, he said, his voice warm. Morning. She took the coffee he offered her. Their fingers brushed, and she felt the spark of it all the way to her toes. About last night. Don't, she said quickly. Don't apologize. Don't say it was a mistake. Please. I wasn't going to. He set down his cup and moved closer. I was going to say that I've been thinking about it all night. About you. About us. And I'm done fighting this. I'm 60 years old. I've spent the last 5 years just existing instead of living. You make me want to live again. He took her hand. I know all the reasons this is complicated. I know people will talk. I know we're breaking about 100 different rules. But I don't care. I want to see where this goes. If you do. Felicia's eyes stung with tears. I do. But I'm scared. Of what? Of getting hurt again. Of this not being real. Of waking up and finding out you don't actually feel this way. Her voice broke. I'm scared of everything. Min-jae pulled her into his arms. She went willingly, pressing her face against his chest, breathing in the smell of his cologne. His hand stroked her hair. I can't promise you won't get hurt, he said quietly. Life doesn't work that way. But I can promise you this is real. What I feel for you is real. And I will do everything in my power to make you happy. She looked up at him. Even though I'm young enough to be your granddaughter? Even though. He smiled. Age is just a number. What matters is what's here. He touched her chest over her heart. And here. He touched her forehead. And you're more mature than most people twice your age. That's because I had to grow up fast. I know. And I'm sorry for that. But I'm also grateful because it brought you to me. They stood there holding each other, the morning sun streaming through the windows. Felicia felt something shift inside her. The fear was still there, but it was smaller now. Manageable. Because Min-jae was right. This was real. She could feel it in the way he held her. In the steady beat of his heart under her ear. So what now? She asked. Now we take it one day at a time. No rushing. No pressure. Just seeing where this goes. He tipped her chin up. Is that okay with you? More than okay. He kissed her again, soft and sweet and full of promise. Felicia kissed him back and let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved this. Deserved him. Deserved to be happy. The next few weeks were like living in a dream. Min-jae courted her properly, which was old-fashioned and sweet and made her fall harder every day. He took her to art galleries and concerts. They had picnics by the lake on the estate. He taught her about his business and actually listened to her opinions. At night they'd sit in the greenhouse and talk for hours about everything and nothing. The kisses got longer and more intense, but Min-jae never pushed for more. He seemed content to take things slow, to savor every moment. It drove Felicia crazy in the best way. "You're killing me," she said one night after a particularly heated makeout session left them both breathless. Min-jae laughed. "Patience is a virtue. I don't feel very virtuous right now." "Good. Neither do I." He kissed her forehead. "But we have time. I want to do this right." Felicia was falling in love with him. She knew it was too soon. Knew it was dangerous. But she couldn't help it. Min-jae treated her like she was precious. Like she mattered. He remembered little things she mentioned in passing. He surprised her with thoughtful gifts. He made her laugh. He made her feel safe. But there was still one giant problem hanging over them. Jang. Felicia was in the greenhouse trimming dead leaves from the orchids when her phone buzzed. Min-jae's name flashed on the screen. "Can you come to my study?" His voice was neutral, giving nothing away. Her stomach dropped. "Is everything okay? Just come. Please." The walk to his study felt longer than usual. Her mind raced through possibilities. Had she done something wrong? Was he having second thoughts about them? About everything? Her hands were clammy by the time she knocked on his door. "Come in." Min-jae sat behind his massive desk, his expression unreadable. He gestured to the chair across from him. Felicia sat down slowly, her heart hammering against her ribs. "You wanted to see me?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled out a cream-colored envelope from his desk drawer and slid it across the polished wood surface toward her. Felicia stared at it like it might bite her. "What is this?" "Open it." Her hands shook as she picked up the envelope. It was heavier than she expected. She broke the seal and pulled out the contents. Official letterhead. Min-jae Tech Company. Her eyes scanned the document once, then twice, not quite believing what she was reading. Letter of employment. Executive Director. Her name printed right there in bold letters. "Min-jae, I don't understand." She looked up at him, confusion and hope warring in her chest. "Is this real?" "Very real." He leaned back in his chair, his expression softening. "Your debt was paid off 2 weeks ago. I didn't tell you because I wanted to wait for the right moment." 2 weeks. Her voice came out strangled. "But you said it would take at least 6 months. I miscalculated." The corner of his mouth lifted. "Or maybe I just paid the rest myself. Does it matter?" Tears blurred her vision. "You paid my debt? Consider it an investment in my future executive director." He stood and walked around the desk, crouching beside her chair. "Felicia, you're brilliant. The way you've handled things around here, your insights during our conversations about business, your natural leadership. I'd be a fool not to offer you this position. But I don't know anything about running a tech company. I don't have experience or qualifications which is why you'll undergo a month of intensive training. I'll personally oversee it. You'll learn everything you need to know." His hand covered hers. "I believe in you. More than that, I know you can do this." She wanted to say yes. Wanted to jump at this opportunity that felt too good to be true. But doubt crept in, cold and familiar. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Then you learn and you try again. That's how everyone succeeds. He squeezed her hand. "But you won't fail. I've seen what you're capable of." "Okay." The word came out as a whisper. "Okay, I'll do it." Min-jae's smile was genuine and warm, the kind that made her chest feel tight in the best way. "Good. There's one more thing." "More?" "I want you to take combat training. Self-defense classes. 3 times a week." Felicia blinked. "Combat training? Why?" "Because the business world can be dangerous. Because I want you to be able to protect yourself if you ever need to." His expression darkened slightly. "Because my son is still out there somewhere, and I won't risk him hurting you again." The mention of Jang sent a chill down her spine. She'd almost forgotten about him in the bubble of happiness she'd been living in. Almost. "You really think he'd come after me?" "I don't know. But I'm not taking chances with your safety." Min-jae stood and helped her up. "So? Will you do it?" She looked down at the letter of employment in her hands. At this gift he was giving her. A future. A purpose. A chance to be more than just a victim of circumstance. "Yes. I'll do it all." The month of training was brutal but exhilarating. Felicia spent her days learning the ins and outs of Minjay tech, absorbing information like a sponge. Market analysis, product development, financial projections, strategic planning. Minjay was a patient but demanding teacher, pushing her to think critically about every decision. The combat training was equally intense. Her instructor, a former military officer named Kim, didn't go easy on her despite her lack of experience. By the end of each session, she was covered in bruises and sweat, but she was learning. Learning how to fall properly, how to break a hold, how to turn fear into fuel. "You're getting better," Kim said one afternoon after she successfully executed a defensive move. More confident. Felicia wiped sweat from her forehead. "I don't feel confident." "That's because real confidence comes from confidence. Keep training. You'll get there." Minjay often watched her training sessions from the observation deck. She could feel his eyes on her, protective and proud. Afterward, he'd take her to the greenhouse and they'd talk about her progress while she tended to the plants. Those moments were her favorite part of the day. "You're a natural leader," he said one evening as they sat among the orchids. "The staff already respects you. That's not something you can teach. They respect me because I'm with you. No, they respect you because you treat them with dignity. Because you work harder than anyone else. Because you're fair." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "You've earned it, Felicia. All of it." She leaned into his touch. "I couldn't have done any of this without you. Maybe, but you're the one doing the work. I'm just opening doors." He kissed her softly. "The rest is all you." For weeks later, Felicia walked into Minjay Tech as the new executive director. Her office was on the top floor, glass walls overlooking the Seoul skyline. It felt surreal. 6 months ago, she'd been trapped in an abusive marriage with no money and no hope. Now she was here. Her secretary, a efficient woman named Ms. Park, had everything organized perfectly. Files color-coded. Meetings scheduled. A fresh cup of coffee waiting on her desk. "Good morning, Director Kang," Ms. Park said with a respectful bow. Director Kang. The name still felt strange. Minjay had insisted she take his surname for professional purposes to avoid complications with Jang's family name. She'd agreed, though hearing it out loud made her stomach flip every time. "Good morning, Ms. Park. What's on the agenda today?" "Standard executive meetings this morning. Budget review after lunch. And this came in yesterday." Ms. Park handed her a manila folder. A proposal from an outside company requesting partnership and financial assistance. Felicia took the folder and settled behind her desk. She opened it, scanning the cover page. Her blood turned to ice. Jang Enterprises. CEO, Jang Minho. Her hands started shaking. The words on the page blurred together as panic rose in her throat. She forced herself to keep reading. The proposal was desperate, barely professional. Jang's company was drowning in debt, facing bankruptcy. He was asking Minjay Tech for a substantial loan and business partnership to stay afloat. He was asking her to save him. "Director Kang? Are you all right?" Ms. Park's concerned voice cut through the fog. "I'm fine." Felicia's voice came out steady even though she felt anything but. "Thank you. That will be all for now." When Ms. Park left, Felicia grabbed her phone and called Minjay. He answered on the second ring. "How's your first day going?" "Minjay, Jang sent a proposal." The words tumbled out. "He's asking for help. His company is failing and he wants us to bail him out." Silence on the other end. "Then, what do you want to do?" "I don't know. That's why I'm calling you." "What should I do?" "Felicia." His voice was gentle but firm. "You're the executive director now. This is your decision to make. I trust your judgment. But he's your son. And you're the woman I love. You're also the person running my company. I won't interfere with your business decisions." He paused. "But I will support whatever choice you make." Felicia closed her eyes. The reasonable thing would be to reject the proposal outright. Jang didn't deserve her help after everything he'd done. But another part of her, the part that understood desperation and rock bottom, wondered if maybe this could be closure. A chance to face him on her terms, from a position of power. I'm going to meet with him, she said finally. But on my terms. In my office. With witnesses. Are you sure? No. But I need to do this. Then I'll have security on standby. And Felicia? Be careful. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to my channel. Ms. Park scheduled the meeting for the following Tuesday at 2 p.m. Felicia spent the intervening days preparing, going over Jang Enterprises' financials with a fine-tooth comb. The company was a disaster. Mismanaged funds. Bad investments. Mounting debt. No wonder he was desperate. Tuesday arrived too quickly. Felicia dressed carefully that morning in a charcoal gray suit that screamed authority. She pulled her hair back in a sleek bun, applied minimal makeup, looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked powerful, in control. Nothing like the scared girl who'd left Jang 2 years ago. The boardroom was ready by 1:30. Large mahogany table, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows showing off the city below. Felicia positioned herself at the head of the table in Min Jae's usual seat. A power move. Deliberate. At 2 p.m. sharp, Ms. Park showed them in. Jang walked in first, flanked by his lawyer and 2 other executives. He was wearing an expensive suit, but it couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders, the dark circles under his eyes. He looked older. Harder. Desperate. His eyes swept the room, clearly expecting to see his father. When they landed on Felicia sitting in Min Jae's chair, his whole body went rigid. His face cycled through shock, confusion, and then rage so fast it was almost comical. What the hell is this? Jang's voice was low and dangerous. Felicia kept her expression neutral, professional. Please have a seat, Mr. Jang. We have business to discuss. Where's my father? Mr. Kang has delegated this matter to me. I'm the executive director of Min Jae Tech. All partnership proposals go through my office now. She gestured to the chairs. Now please sit down. Jang's jaw clenched so hard she could hear his teeth grinding. You've got to be kidding me. What kind of sick joke is this? I assure you, this is no joke. Your proposal is currently under review. If you'd like to proceed with this meeting, I suggest you take a seat. You. Jang let out a harsh laugh that made her skin crawl. You're just a whore who slept her way into my father's bed. You don't know the first thing about running a company. The words hit like a slap, but Felicia didn't flinch. She'd spent 2 years enduring his abuse. She wasn't that scared girl anymore. Mr. Jang, I strongly urge you to maintain decorum. This is a professional environment, not a mental institute that rehabilitates lunatics. His lawyer touched his arm. Sir, perhaps we should. Jang shook him off. Get out, he snarled at his own team. All of you. I need to talk to my father's little pet alone. Actually, they stay. Felicia's voice was steel. This is a business meeting and will be conducted with appropriate witnesses present. Now, shall we discuss your proposal, or would you prefer to continue embarrassing yourself? For a moment, she thought he might actually attack her. His hands curled into fists and his whole body trembled with barely contained rage. But his lawyer and executives reluctantly took their seats, forcing him to do the same. Felicia opened the folder in front of her. I've reviewed your financials. Your company is in serious trouble, Mr. Jang. Mounting debt, failed projects, poor management decisions. Why should Min Jae Tech invest in a sinking ship? Because we have potential. With the right capital injection and partnership, we could turn things around. Jang's voice was tight, but he was trying to maintain professionalism. Barely. Your track record suggests otherwise. Your last 3 ventures failed spectacularly. You're asking for $30 million with no clear plan for how you'll use it or how you'll generate returns. She flipped through the pages. This proposal is poorly researched and frankly insulting in its lack of effort. We need that money. The desperation bled through now. I'm sure you do. But that's not my problem. Felicia looked up from the folder and met his eyes directly. You want me to convince your father to save you? Give me one good reason why I should. Jang's control finally snapped. He shot to his feet, his chair flying backward. Because he's my father. Because he owes me. I'm his blood and you're nothing but a gold-digging slut who. That's enough. Felicia's voice cut through his tirade like a knife. She stood up slowly, gathering the proposal papers. Then she tore them in half. The sound was loud in the sudden silence. This meeting is over. Your proposal is rejected. You can't do that. I just did. She tore the papers again, letting the pieces fall to the table. Now get the hell out of my office. Jang's face turned purple. He started around the table toward her, but his lawyer grabbed his arm, pulling him back. Sir, we need to leave. Security will be called. You think you've won? Jang jerked free from his lawyer's grip, but stopped moving toward her. His eyes were black with hatred. You think you can just waltz in and take everything from me? My father's company? His respect? You're nothing, Felicia. You'll always be nothing. I'd rather be nothing than be you. Felicia's voice was quiet, but firm. Now leave. Before I have you removed. Jang took a step closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. You just drew the battle line. You have no idea what I'm capable of. What I'll do to get back what's mine. Is that a threat? It's a promise. He smiled, and it was the most frightening thing she'd seen. Cold. Dead. Promising violence. You'll regret this. Both of you will. He turned and stormed out, his team scrambling to follow. The door slammed behind them hard enough to rattle the windows. Felicia stood there for a long moment, her hands gripping the edge of the table. She was shaking, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From the satisfaction of finally standing up to him. From the terrifying knowledge that this was just the beginning. Ms. Park appeared in the doorway. Director Kong? Should I call security? Mr. Kong? No. It's fine. Felicia took a breath and straightened her jacket. But increased security protocols. Mr. Jang Minho is not to be allowed on the premises again without my explicit approval. Yes, ma'am. When Ms. Park left, Felicia sank into her chair and let out a shaky breath. Her phone buzzed. A text from Min-jae. Jang messaged me. This would be disastrous. I need you back home. She typed back, it's okay, I'm heading back home now. Felicia picked her bag and headed out. She met Ms. Park by the way. Please clear my schedule for the rest of the afternoon. I have somewhere to be. Park nodded and watched Felicia exit the building. Felicia drove into the parking lot and hurried into the main house, her heart pounding. Min-jae was standing at his desk staring at his computer screen. His face was carved from stone. What's wrong? She asked. He turned the monitor toward her. On the screen was an email. From Jang. Father. I know she's there. I know what you're doing with my wife. We need to meet. Tomorrow. Noon. The Grand Hyatt. Come alone or I'll make sure everyone knows about your little arrangement. Felicia's blood went cold. What arrangement is he talking about? She asked. Min-jae sighed, leaning back into his seat. He's been watching. Waiting for ammunition to use against me. What does he want? Money probably. Or to cause problems. Maybe both. Min-jae rubbed his face tiredly. Jang has always been bitter about not being acknowledged as my heir. About being cut out of the will. This gives him leverage. Felicia sat down before her legs gave out. This is my fault, she broke down. I got you into this messy scandal. Our divorce hasn't been finalized yet. She sobbed. Absolutely not. Min-jae came around the desk and crouched in front of her. It's not your fault, okay? Stop beating yourself up. But he'll ruin you. He'll tell everyone about us. About the age difference. About me being his ex-wife. Your reputation will be destroyed. I don't care about my reputation. I care about you. He took her hands. We've done nothing wrong. You left him. You came here by accident. What happened between us is real and honest and nobody's business but ours. People won't see it that way. Then people can mind their own business. His voice was fierce. I'm not giving you up because my son is throwing a tantrum. I'm not letting him control my life anymore. Felicia wanted to believe him. But she knew how cruel Jang could be. How vindictive. He wouldn't just go away quietly. What are you going to do? She asked. I'm going to that meeting. And I'm going to tell him the truth. That you're with me now. That he lost you because of his own actions. And that he needs to move on with his life. He won't accept that. I don't care if he accepts it. He doesn't get a vote. Min-jae squeezed her hands. Trust me. I've dealt with worse than Jang. But Felicia couldn't shake the feeling that something bad was coming. She knew Jang. Knew how he operated. He wouldn't just give up. He'd find a way to hurt them both. That night she couldn't sleep. She kept imagining all the ways this could go wrong. What if Jang went to the media? What if he sued Min-jae? What if he came after her directly? Around 2 in the morning, she gave up trying to sleep and went to the kitchen for water. Min-jae was already there, sitting at the counter in the dark. Can't sleep either, he asked. She shook her head and sat next to him. He pulled her close automatically, his arm around her shoulders. She rested her head on his chest and listened to his heartbeat. I'm scared, she admitted. I know. So am I. That surprised her. You are. Of course. I'm scared of losing you. Of Jang finding a way to hurt you. Of not being strong enough to protect you. His voice was rough. But I'm more scared of living without you now that I know what it's like to have you in my life. Felicia turned to look at him. In the dim light from the window, his face looked younger. Vulnerable. Min-jae, I love you. The words came out quiet, but certain. I know it's too soon. I know it's complicated. But I love you, Felicia. And whatever happens tomorrow, I need you to know that. Her eyes filled with tears. I love you too. I've been trying not to because it's crazy and impossible, but I can't help it. I love you. He kissed her like it was the last time. Like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. Felicia kissed him back with everything she had, pouring all her fear and hope and love into it. They ended up in his bedroom. Not for anything physical, just to be close. They lay facing each other in the dark, holding hands between them. No matter what happens, Min-jae said, we face it together. You and me. Okay. They fell asleep like that, still holding hands. Felicia dreamed of storms and lightning and Min-jae's arms keeping her safe through all of it. Morning came too fast. Min-jae got dressed in one of his expensive suits, looking every bit the powerful businessman. Felicia watched him from the bed, her stomach in knots. I'm coming with you, she said suddenly. No. It's too dangerous. If Jang sees you. I don't care. You said we face this together. That means I go with you. Min-jae looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her expression stopped him. You're sure? I'm sure. I'm done hiding. Done being scared. If Jang wants to threaten us, he can do it to both our faces. A smile tugged at Min-jae's mouth. You're incredible. You know that? I learned from the best. They drove to the Grand Hyatt in silence. Felicia's hands were shaking, but she kept them folded in her lap. Min-jae reached over and took one, squeezing gently. They didn't need words. The message was clear. Whatever happened, they were in this together. The hotel restaurant was nearly empty at noon on a Tuesday. Jang was already there, sitting at a corner table. He looked older than Felicia remembered. More worn. The expensive suit couldn't hide the stress lines around his eyes. He stood when he saw them. His gaze went from Min-jae to Felicia and back again. Something ugly flickered across his face. So it's true. You're actually sleeping with my father. Ex-wife, Felicia corrected, keeping her voice steady. I haven't been your wife in months. Semantics. Jang's smile was sharp. Do you have any idea how this looks? How pathetic you both are. Watch your mouth, Min-jae said quietly. The threat in his voice was unmistakable. Jang laughed. Or what? You'll cut me out of your will? Oh wait, you already did that. What else can you take from me, father? How about your ability to blackmail us? That's what you're here for, isn't it? Min-jae sat down and gestured for Felicia to do the same. She stayed standing, preferring to have the height advantage. Smart as always. Jang sat back down. Here's the deal. I want $5 million and a partnership in your company. In exchange, I keep quiet about your little scandal. No. Jang's eyebrows shot up. Just like that? You're not even going to think about it. There's nothing to think about. I don't negotiate with blackmailers. Especially not my own son. Minjae's voice was ice cold. You want to tell people about Felicia and me? Go ahead. We have nothing to hide. Nothing to hide? She's 20 years old and you're 60. She was married to your son. People will call you a predator. A pervert. Your business will suffer. Let them talk. I don't care. Minjae took Felicia's hand. What Felicia and I have is real. It's honest. And it's nobody's business but ours. Jang's face twisted with rage. You're choosing her over me. Your own son. You made it a choice when you decided to blackmail me. And yes, I'm choosing her. She's more of a family to me than you've ever been. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Felicia saw the moment they hit Jang. Saw the hurt flash across his face before anger covered it up. You'll regret this, Jang said, his voice shaking. Both of you. I'll make sure of it. He stood and walked out without looking back. The silence he left behind was deafening. Felicia sat down finally, her legs weak. That went about as badly as I expected. Could have been worse. Minjae signaled the waiter for water. At least no one got shot. Is that supposed to make me feel better? A little. He smiled slightly. But I meant what I said. I don't care what Jang does. What we have is worth fighting for. Even if it costs you your business? Even then, money can be rebuilt. But you? You're irreplaceable. Felicia felt tears prick her eyes. I don't deserve you. You deserve everything good in this world. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you get it. They never made it to lunch. Instead, they went back to the estate and spent the day together, just the two of them. They walked through the gardens. They sat by the lake. They talked about the future like it was something they could actually have. That night, lying in Minjae's arms, Felicia felt something like peace. Yes, Jang was out there somewhere plotting revenge. Yes, their relationship was complicated and would probably cause scandals. Yes, the age difference would make people talk. But none of that mattered when she was with Minjae. He made her feel safe. Loved. Whole. She was done apologizing for that. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Felicia kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. For Jang to follow through on his threats. But nothing happened. It made her more nervous than if he'd actually done something. Minjae seemed unconcerned. He went about his business as usual. He took Felicia to dinner. He introduced her to his business associates as his partner, not his employee. He made it clear to everyone that she was important to him. The staff noticed. Of course they did. But Minjae made it equally clear that anyone who had a problem with it could find employment elsewhere. No one quit. Most of them seemed happy for him actually. They'd seen how much lighter he'd become since Felicia arrived. A week after the disastrous meeting with Jang, Felicia woke up feeling sick. She barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up. Minjae heard and came running. Are you okay? He held her hair back while she heaved. I don't know. I feel awful. Food poisoning maybe? What did you eat yesterday? The same things you did. She rinsed her mouth and sat back against the wall. Oh no. What? Minjae, when was my last period? His eyes widened. Are you saying I might be pregnant? The words hung in the air between them. Felicia watched his face, trying to read his reaction. Was he happy? Scared? Angry? We need to take a test, he said finally. Right now. They drove to a pharmacy in the next town over, somewhere they wouldn't be recognized. Minjae bought 3 different pregnancy tests while Felicia waited in the car, feeling like she might throw up again. Back at the estate, she locked herself in the bathroom and took all 3 tests. Then she sat on the floor and waited the longest 5 minutes of her life. When the timer went off, she looked at the tests with shaking hands. Positive. All 3 of them. She was pregnant with Minjae's child. She opened the door. He was pacing outside, his face pale. Well, she held up the tests. He stared at them, then at her, then back at the tests. For a horrible moment she thought he was going to be angry. But then he dropped to his knees in front of her and pressed his forehead to her stomach. A baby, he whispered. We're having a baby. Are you happy? Her voice came out small. He looked up at her with tears in his eyes. Happy doesn't even begin to cover it. Terrified, yes. But so happy I can barely breathe. I'm scared, she admitted. I'm 20 years old. I have no idea how to be a mother. We'll figure it out together. Just like everything else. He stood and pulled her into his arms. This child is going to be so loved. So protected. I promise you that. Felicia buried her face in his chest and let herself cry. Relief, fear, joy, anxiety, all of it mixed together. Min-jae held her through it all, his hand stroking her hair, whispering reassurances. We need to tell people, she said when she could finally talk again. Eventually. But right now, let's just keep it between us. At least until you're through the first trimester. What about Jang? Min-jae's face hardened. He doesn't get to know. Not yet. This is our news. Our joy. I won't let him poison it. But of course, Jang found out anyway. He had spies everywhere. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived at the estate. Inside was a single piece of paper with a message printed in block letters. Congratulations on the pregnancy. It would be a shame if something happened to the mother. Felicia's hands shook so hard she dropped the paper. Min-jae picked it up, his face going dark with fury. That's it. I'm done playing nice. What are you going to do? I'm going to end this. Once and for all. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Get me everything you can find on Jang Min-ho. Every dirty secret. Every illegal dealing. Everything. Min-jae. He threatened you. Threatened our child. The gloves are off now. Over the next week, Min-jae's people compiled a damning file on Jang. Embezzlement. Tax fraud. His gay lovers and underground sexual parties he held. Bribing officials. Using company funds for personal expenses. The list went on and on. More than enough to have him arrested. I could destroy him, Min-jae said, looking at the file. Send him to prison for years. But he's still my son. Despite everything, I can't quite bring myself to do it. Felicia took his hand. Then give him a choice. Stop threatening us and leave the country or face prosecution. You're willing to let him walk away? I'm willing to let you keep your humanity. And your son. She touched her still flat stomach. Our child deserves to have a father who isn't consumed by revenge. Min-jae looked at her like she was a miracle. How did I get so lucky? I ask myself the same thing every day. They arranged one final meeting with Jang. This time at Min-jae's office. Home territory. Jang showed up looking defiant, but there was fear in his eyes. Min-jae slid the file across the desk. This is every crime you've committed in the last 5 years. More than enough to put you away for a decade. Jang opened it and went pale. Here's the deal, Min-jae continued. You leave Korea. Tonight. You don't contact me or Felicia ever again. In exchange, I don't press charges. You're banishing me? I'm giving you a chance to start over somewhere else. More than you deserve. Jang looked at Felicia. You're really going to raise a child with him? A man old enough to be your grandfather? Yes, she said simply. Because unlike you, he knows how to love. How to protect. How to be a real partner. You'll regret this. Both of you. Maybe. But at least we'll be together. Min-jae stood. You have 12 hours. I suggest you start packing. Jang left without another word. They never saw him again. Min-jae's investigators confirmed he'd gotten on a plane to Thailand that night. He sent one final text. Just 3 words. You win, father. Min-jae deleted it without responding. The months that followed were the happiest of Felicia's life. Her pregnancy progressed smoothly. Min-jae was attentive and sweet, going to every doctor's appointment, reading parenting books, building a nursery with his own hands. They got married quietly at a courthouse with just 2 witnesses. Nothing fancy. Just them promising to love each other for the rest of their lives. Felicia didn't care that her parents refused to come. Didn't care that people whispered about the age difference. She had Min-jae and their baby, and that was enough. The media did find out eventually. There were articles. Gossip. Raised eyebrows. But Min-jae handled it all with grace and dignity. He never hid their relationship. Never apologized for it. He introduced Felicia as his wife with pride. Most people came around when they saw how happy they were together. How genuine their love was. The few who didn't stopped mattering. 6 months into the pregnancy, Felicia was huge and uncomfortable and completely in love with her life. She was lying on the couch in Minjae's study while he worked, one hand on her belly feeling the baby kick. "Still active?" Minjae asked, looking up from his papers. "Very. I think we're having a soccer player." He came over and put his hand next to hers. The baby kicked right into his palm. His face lit up like Christmas morning. "Strong," he said. "Just like the mother." "I'm not strong. I'm terrified half the time." Being terrified and doing it anyway? That's the definition of strength. He kissed her forehead. "You're the strongest person I know. Even with all my scars? Especially with all your scars. They prove you survived. They prove you're a fighter." Felicia pulled his face down to hers and kissed him properly. "I love you. Even though you're old and bossy and impossible." "Old?" He raised an eyebrow. "I'll show you old." He kissed her until she forgot what they were talking about. Until the only thing that mattered was his hands on her body and his lips on her skin and the love between them that felt infinite. Their son was born on a snowy December morning. 7 pounds, healthy lungs, her father's eyes. They named him Jia. New beginning. Minjae cried when he held her for the first time. Actually cried. Felicia had never seen him cry before. He looked down at their son with such awe and love that it made her chest ache. "He's perfect," he whispered. "Thank you. For giving me this. For giving me a family again. For loving me when you had every reason not to. Thank you for teaching me that I deserve to be loved. For showing me what real love looks like." They sat together in the hospital room, taking turns holding Jia, marveling at the tiny life they'd created. Outside, snow fell silently. Inside, their new family was warm and safe and whole. Thank you for making it to the end of the story. I'm sure you were blown away by the show of love and kindness. To support and spread this love, kindly hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Like and share so we can join hands in spreading love and kindness. Turn on the notification bell so you don't get to miss our next story. See you in the next one. Bye.